Welcome back, Wayfarer. You found your way to a quiet corner of the world once again. Before we begin our journey tonight, take a moment to settle into your own sanctuary. Adjust the weight of your blankets. Feel the support of the pillow beneath your head. Take a deep, slow breath in, and as you exhale, let the tension of the day dissolve into the space around you. You are safe. You are exactly where you need to be. Tonight, our journey brings us away from the open moors and the rushing rivers. We are seeking a different kind of quiet. We are heading toward a secluded stone manor house, tucked away in a valley where the trees grow tall and the mist lingers long after the sun has set. Specifically, we are heading for the Scriptorium, a room of stone, cedar, and ancient ink. The stone corridor leading there is long, narrow, and cold. Here the air is thin, carrying the sharp metallic scent of damp granite, and the distant, hollow whistle of the wind moving through the high arrow slits of the outer walls. Your footsteps on the flagstones are crisp, sharp clacks that bounce off the vaulted ceiling and trail behind you like ghosts. It is a space of transit, a place not meant for staying. But ahead there is a door. It is made of ancient silvered oak, bound in iron straps that have been hammered flat by a blacksmith's hand. You reach for the handle, a heavy ring of cold metal, and as you turn it, the mechanism moves with a slow, greased reluctance. As the door swings open, the world changes. You step over the threshold and into the Scriptorium, and the transition is immediate. It is as if you have stepped into a vacuum of sound. The echoes of the corridor are instantly swallowed. There is no bounce here, no sharp edges to the air. The room is lined from floor to ceiling with books, thousands of volumes bound in heavy leather, pigskin, and wood. These books act as the ultimate acoustic baffle. Their porous pages and thick covers eat the sound, leaving the atmosphere thick, hushed, and impossibly still. The air in here is warmer, carrying a weight to it. It smells of beeswax used to polish the reading desks. It smells of lanolin from the vellum and the faint earthy tang of iron-gall ink. But mostly it smells of cedar wood. In the centre of the room, a single hearth glows with a steady, low burning peat fire. There are no flickering candles yet, only the deep amber light reflecting off the gilded spines of the books on the shelves. You move toward the centre desk, your boots now silent on the rushes that cover the floor. Here, the wayfarer is no longer a traveller of the road, but a traveller of the page. Before you sit, you walk the perimeter of the room, trailing your hand along the shelves. This is a library of the long now. Unlike modern shelves where books stand shoulder to shoulder, many of these massive volumes lie on their sides, stacked 3 or 4 deep on cedar planks. Some are tethered to the shelves by slender iron chains, a chained library designed to ensure that knowledge, so expensive and rare, never strays too far from its home. You stop to pull a single volume from the lower shelf. It is a bestiary, bound in heavy calfskin that has darkened to the colour of chestnuts. As you slide it out, the sound is a dry, rasping slide of leather against wood. You feel the cool weight of the brass bosses, the metal studs on the corners of the cover, designed to protect the leather when the book is laid flat on a stone desk. You open the cover just an inch and breathe in. This is the library of smells. There is the sharp, vinegar-like tang of wood smoke that has seeped into the pages over centuries. The sweet vanilla scent of decaying lignin in the older paper, and the musky, fatty scent of the animal skin vellum. To a wayfarer, this is the scent of civilization. You close the book, the clack of the brass clasp echoing softly in the rafters, and return it to its place. You notice the light. The Scriptorium was built to capture the sun, with tall, narrow windows facing south. But now, in the twilight, the room relies on the hearth. The shadows are long and soft, moving rhythmically with the pulse of the fire. You watch as the light catches a row of illuminated spines, gold leaf that has survived 500 years, still catching the dim amber glow and throwing it back into the room. There is a profound sense of safety in these walls. The stone is 4 feet thick. The world could end outside these windows, and the Scriptorium would remain hushed and unchanging. You settle onto a tall wooden stool and draw a fresh sheet of vellum toward you. It is a remarkable thing, this material. As you run your fingers across it, you feel a tension that still resides in the fibers. It isn't just a surface, it's a history of labor. You recall the way the parchment maker worked the raw skin, soaking it in lime for weeks until the fibers relaxed, then stretching it across the wooden frame, the hearse. You can almost feel the phantom resistance of the skin as it was scraped with the lunellum, that crescent-shaped blade that shaved away every imperfection until the membrane was translucent and uniform. You lean in closer to the amber light, observing the hair side of the sheet. Even now, after it's been rubbed to a velvet finish with powdered pumice, you can see the faint, microscopic follicle patterns, a ghost of the creature it once was. You turn it over to the flesh side, and the texture shifts to a pure ivory smoothness. It resists the heat of your hand, remaining cool. Yet you know that once the ink hits it, the skin will remember the stroke. It has a stubborn, organic memory that paper can never mimic. You pick up a small, smooth piece of bone, a folder. You use it to crease the edge of a new gathering of pages. The sound is a dry, satisfying snick. Unlike modern paper, which is brittle, vellum has a memory. It resists being folded, and once creased it holds that shape with a stubborn, leather-like strength. Before a single word can be written, the page must be prepared with a hidden geometry. You take a small iron awl and a wooden ruler. This is the stage of pricking. You press the tip of the awl through the edge of the vellum at regular intervals. The sound is a tiny muffled pop as the metal pierces the skin. These tiny holes are your anchors. They are the guides that will ensure the text never wanders. Now comes the ruling. You do not use a pencil, but a lead point. A rod of soft metal that leaves a faint, silvery ghost of a line. You draw the horizontal lines across the page, connecting the pinpricks. As the metal moves across the vellum, it makes a dry, whispering sound. You aren't just drawing lines. You are creating a justification, a skeletal structure that will support the weight of the story. You feel the focus required for this. Your hand must be steady, your breath even. Each line is an invitation for a thought. By the time you finish, the vellum is no longer a blank skin. It is a mapped territory, a grid of potential. You set the lead point aside and take a moment to admire the silver grey lattice you've created. It is almost invisible from a distance, but to you, sitting here in the firelight, it is as clear as a forest path. You turn your attention to the tools laid out on the smaller side table. They are arranged with a surgeon's precision. First, there is the quill. It is a primary flight feather taken from a large bird, likely a goose or a swan. There is a quiet logic in the choice. Scribes prefer the feathers from the left wing, as they curve naturally away from the hand of a right-handed writer, never obstructing the view of the line. You pick up the feather. It feels nearly weightless, yet it possesses a remarkable structural integrity. You know it has been tempered or clarified, plunged into hot, dry sand to harden the protein, the keratin, until the barrel is as transparent and durable as horn. You take your penknife, a small razor-sharp blade with a bone handle. You perform the ritual of the cut. First you slice the tip at a steep angle to create the nib. Then, with a breath held steady, you make the central slit, the engine of the pen. You can feel the protein of the feather resist the blade, then click as the slit opens. This tiny channel is what will use capillary action to pull the ink down. Finally, you shave the shoulders of the nib, tapering them just enough so the pen has flex. Beside the quills sits the inkwell, a heavy pot of hand-blown glass. The liquid inside is iron-gall ink. You know the alchemy behind it. Crushed oak galls, those strange tannin-rich growths, married to ferrous sulfate or green vitriol. When mixed with a binder, a chemical reaction occurs that creates a liquid that is essentially alive. You dip the quill. The ink is a pale, translucent grey as it clings to the nib. But as you pull the first stroke across the vellum, you watch the magic happen. The iron in the liquid reacts with the oxygen in the air, darkening from grey to a deep, permanent velvet black right before your eyes. It doesn't just sit on top of the vellum. The acid bites into the skin, bonding with the fibres so the words can never be truly erased. They become part of the page itself. You move the pen across the vellum, following the silver lines you ruled. The sound is a rhythmic scritch, scratch, a tiny friction that vibrates through the barrel of the feather and into your fingertips. You notice how the ink pools slightly at the end of each stroke, creating a tiny glossy dome that takes its time to dry. You learn to wait. You learn that the speed of the hand must match the drying time of the ink. In this room there is no such thing as an instant thought. Everything requires a physical transformation. While the ink on the sheet dries, your eye wanders to the small stoneware jars at the edge of the desk. These are the pigments, the raw materials of illumination. In a world of shadows, these colours are startling. Shards of captured light. You pick up a heavy glass muller, a flat-bottomed tool used for grinding. To create the colours of the Scriptorium, one must be part chemist and part lapidary. You look at the deep blue in the first jar. This is lapis lazuli, brought from the mountains of Afghanistan, crushed and washed until only the purest ultramarine remains. Beside it is cinnabar, a heavy red that vibrates with heat, and a small vial of verdigris, the sharp green formed by exposing copper to the vapours of wine. You take a tiny amount of the blue powder and place it on a slab of marble. You add a drop of glaire, a binder made from beaten egg whites. As you move the glass muller in slow concentric circles, the sound is rhythmic, gritty, shh, shh, against the marble. Slowly the powder and the liquid marry, transforming into a thick, jewel-like cream. But the true magic lies in the gold leaf. You open a small wooden book with tissue-thin pages. Between them lies a square of 24-karat gold, beaten so thin it is translucent when held to the light. It defies gravity. If you were to breathe too heavily, the gold would vanish. To apply it, you first paint a size onto the vellum, a raised base made of gesso, a mixture of plaster and red clay. You wait for it to reach the perfect state of tackiness. Then you take a gilder's tip, a flat brush made of badger hair, and rub it against your own cheek. The tiny amount of natural oil from your skin makes the gold leaf cling to the brush. You lift the leaf, a shivering sheet of pure light, and hover it over the page. You don't press it down. Instead, you give a single sharp huff of warm breath onto the gesso to reactivate the glue, and then you let the gold fall. It settles with a silence that is absolute. Once it is down, you use a burnisher tipped with highly polished agate. You rub the gold with firm, steady strokes. The sound changes from a dull thud to a bright metallic tink as the gold flattens into a mirror-like brilliance. As you finish the leaf, you look at the larger project to your left, the sewing frame. This is where the gatherings of vellum, the quires, become a book. You see the heavy linen threads stretched vertically and the kettle stitches that bind one quire to the next. It is a slow, rhythmic lacing, like weaving a net for the soul. You pick up a finished quire and feel its weight. It is thick, substantial, and smells of beeswax. You think of the final stage, the lacing in. This is when the linen threads are threaded through holes drilled into the oak boards of the cover. You can almost feel the physical effort required to hammer the small wooden pegs that lock the pages to the wood. This isn't just an assembly. It is an architecture. The book is built to be a fortress for the words inside. You notice the headbands, the colourful silk threads sewn across the top and bottom of the spine. They aren't just for decoration. They provide structural support, a bit of give, so the book can be opened and closed for 100 years without the spine cracking. You run your finger over the silk, feeling the tiny braided ridges. Every detail of the book, from the chemical bond of the ink to the tension of the silk, is a testament to the idea that some things are worth keeping forever. The work is complete. The blue is deep, the black is biting into the vellum, and the gold is glowing in the low light. You feel a profound sense of completion. You begin the ritual of the close. You take a clean linen cloth and wipe the glass mullet. You place the stopper back into the inkwell, a heavy muffled clink of glass on glass. The quills are returned to their tray, their feathers overlapping like the wings of a resting bird. Finally, you turn to the great book itself. You turn the pages back one by one. The vellum makes a heavy rhythmic flap thud as each sheet falls. You reach the heavy oak cover and lower it. The sound is the definitive period at the end of the day. A deep wooden boom that signals the end of effort. You slide the brass clasps into place, the metal snapping shut with a cold, secure finality. The knowledge is safe. The work is put away. You move to the heavy wingback chair by the hearth. It is covered in a dark patterned velvet that feels cool and then warm against your skin. You sit and the chair seems to absorb your weight, just as the books absorb the sound. You watch the peat fire. It has burned down to a landscape of glowing red caves. The scriptorium is now almost entirely dark, save for the pulse of the embers and the faint shimmer of the gold on the desk. You are no longer a scribe, no longer a wayfarer. You are simply a part of the stillness. The weight of the books, the thickness of the stone walls, and the ancient silence of the parchment all combine to press down on you with a deep, gravitational permission to rest. Your eyes heavy, your breath slow. You watch the last of the smoke curl up the chimney. The door is shut. The ink is dry. The world is silent.